Welcome all to the module 4 of your masterclass. In this module, we will dive into Azure Databricks, a unified analytics platform designed to accelerate data engineering, data science, and machine learning workloads in the cloud. So in the in the last module for being precise, we talked about and we saw that what exactly Databricks user interface, the home console has to offer to us. But we also discussed because in real time scenarios in the organizations you work with real data which is stored on cloud platforms like Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud Platform. So it is more practical to work on those platforms with real data rather than on the Databricks platform. So that is why in this module, Azure Databricks, we will learn about Azure Databricks and what all things we can do with this. Now, just to give you a very brief introduction, what exactly Azure Databricks can do for you, let's deep dive into the console. Before that, I would like to tell you that would require our Azure account to do all these steps which I'm going to teach you in this module. Now, don't worry, if you do not have a Microsoft Azure account, you can always create one. Okay, and to be very honest, Microsoft Azure or Microsoft as a company for cloud providing is very supportive for the new learners. As a matter of fact, when you will create a new account with your email address, it will also give you credits worth of 200 US dollars, which you can use for various resources you will spin up in your project on the Azure portal. So it's absolutely free. It gives you extra credits which you can use for paid services in Azure portal, and plus you get to learn a lot of things on the Azure portal. So without any further ado, let's start. Okay, so this is how the Azure portal looks like. So I have skipped all the steps for creation of Azure portal account. However, it's very easy. You can just Google Azure free account. It will ask for your credentials or your any account, like you can use a Gmail account for that matter. And it will also ask for your address related details. And yes, you will have to add your any credit or debit card as well. Now, do not worry, Microsoft, because it's a free account, it will not deduct any money from your credit card, probably a dollar or two, or a rupee or two, just for authenticating your account, your credit card account. But because this service is absolutely free, plus you have a credit worth of 200 US dollars, so I don't think you will have any issues regarding the payment of the account. Okay, so it's absolutely free, and create one and then only we can start with all these things. Okay, so I have created one fresh account for you so that we all are on the same page and you do not get confused by all the services and all the projects which I do in my normal account. So that is why it's a absolutely fresh account which I created just before this masterclass using one of my students name. So you can see, and you will land on the exactly the same page when you will create the account. Okay, you will get a list of Azure services like resource groups, quick center start, Azure AI services, and a lot of other things as well. So there are hundreds of services which Azure offers to us. However, we will only work with service which are relative or important for our project at this moment. But then again, I would recommend you guys to go deeper in the Azure cloud services because it is the future, right? And it's no harm in learning extra things which will integrate for your data analytics journey. Okay, so Azure Databricks seamlessly integrates with Azure services to provide a powerful environment for building and deploying scalable data solutions. Haven't I mentioned it earlier? I think I have. So it combines the capabilities of Apache Spark with Azure's cloud infrastructure, enabling you to process, analyze, and visualize large datasets efficiently. Now, throughout this module, you will explore the fundamentals of Azure Databricks, including setting up workspaces, understanding Spark clusters, working with notebooks, and applying these tools in real world scenarios. And by the end, you will be equipped to harness this platform for your data driven projects. Okay, so let's get started. Now, I'm expecting that you might have some of the basic understanding of Azure Portal because we will require some services which are not related to Databricks, but we need that in order to create our projects. Okay, so the first of all, I'll try to explain some of the services to you which I will be using. I'll try to give you a quick introduction about it, just in case you do not have any info, you're absolutely fresher and you do not have any information for Azure services. So that's what I can do, but I would also recommend, or it's a homework for you, that you go through these services and all the famous or the commonly used services from Azure Cloud. Okay, so the first service which we'll be requiring to use is a resource group. Okay, so now what kind of bird is this resource group, right? So as the name suggests, it's a group of resources. Okay, and why do we use it? We use it to bundle our services in a single group. So think of it as an example, like you're working on a project which is related to a finance department. Okay, you have to create some VMs. Maybe you're hosting a website or web pages which are related to finance or related to a specific project, a e-commerce website. Okay, so you would want all those resources should stay or bundled in a single group, right? Because it is easier to manage. Okay, it is easier to manage. It is easier to clean up once that project is completed. And it is easier to integrate with each other if they are in a single resource group. So this functionality in Microsoft Azure is given by the service called resource group. And just FYI, any artifact, not artifact exactly, any service or any, all these things like Kubernetes service, virtual machines, so anything you create in your Azure portal is called a service. So all the services which you do for a specific department or a specific project, you can always keep it in a resource group. Okay, so either you can click on resource group here, because I've just searched it, that's why it is showing up here. In case it is not showing up here, you can always type it in the search menu, like resource groups. So okay, there is a resource groups. Okay, so over here you can create your resource group. So we are going to create one resource group for this Databricks masterclass, so that what all services we will be creating in this portal, we will keep them in this specific resource group. So it will help me, or it will help us in bundling up or management of the services. Plus when we clearing all this or cleaning all this, our console for newer projects, it's very easy to delete a single resource group with all these services. Okay, now a quick tip on this. A service which is, I mean, you can always create nested resource group, like a resource group within a resource group. That's absolutely allowed in Azure portal. However, a single service cannot be part of two resource group. Okay, for example, you have created a VM which hosts, which is a web server for a specific website. So if it is a part of a single, for example, demo resource group, it cannot be a part of demo 2 resource group. Okay, so our service is specifically a part of a specific resource group, and it cannot be shared between two resource groups. Okay, okay, so now you can also move your services, just in case in future you want to move those VMs, your Kubernetes cluster, or any other service or a resource for that matter, to a different resource group depending on its functionality, because its functionality is changed over the time, right? So you can move it to a different resource group. Azure allows that. However, it cannot be a part of two resource group. Okay, so now let's create one resource group. So I have already created one. Just for before this, let me just, so it selects the subscription under which you want to create the resource group, because we only have one subscription. I mean, I told you already it's a fresh account. So let's create a resource group. We'll append a prefix called RG, which will help us, differentiate that this is a resource group. And let's do now. Okay, now another thing, the name of the resource group should be unique. Okay, you cannot have existing name which is already existing, and you cannot create it, you cannot have the same name. So in your tenant, so let me create Databricks masterclass. Okay, okay, and in which region you want to create it? So I'm fine with US East, and you can select any other region, whichever is more appropriate to you. And I'm going to click on review create, and it gives you the option to review it, and you can create this resource group. Okay, now you can see it says resource group created. Okay, if I refresh it, I will see two resource groups in this. Okay, interesting. Where exactly it has gone? Okay, so this is my old resource group. I'm not worried about this. I'm gonna close this, go to resource group, new version of let me quickly refresh the page. Okay, wonderful. So we can see now this is the new one which I created, the resource group. Okay, and it shows all the related details. If we click on this resource group, it gives you a lot of options, which we'll be looking at in a moment. Before that, apart from resource group, now we have to create a data lake as well. Okay, where exactly we will store our data, right? This whole masterclass, this whole data analytics, whole Databricks is about data, right? Data is the new oil, as they say it, of this generation. Since we are living in data age, so data is the key and the core of this whole project, or this whole masterclass. So where will we storing the data, and why did we came from Databricks to this Azure Database console? For the data itself, right? So we need a place where we'll storing the data. Okay, so the second thing which we want to create is a data lake. Okay, now I'll guide you how to create data lake. So in order to create a data lake, hey, so before creating a data lake, I mean, we have already discussed about what exactly is a data lake in past modules, but just to reiterate, that data lakes is a centralized repository that stores vast amount of data, both structured and unstructured, in its original format, allowing for flexible data analysis and exploration. Okay, so data lake is the future, right? I mean, the Delta Lake is the future, but Delta Lake is created over the data lake only, and that also we have discussed in the past. If you skipped that, please go back to the previous modules and you will be able to understand what exactly is a Delta Lake. Not to worry, we'll be working on that as well eventually, but before that we need to create a data lake. So now, how to create data lake in Microsoft Azure? So we need to create a Microsoft Azure storage account first. Okay, so when you create a storage account, by default it creates blob storage for you in Microsoft Azure. Okay, but I will give you a tip in which, by using which you can convert your blob storage account into a data lake. Okay, it's very easy, and we'll be looking at how exactly we can do that. However, because we need to do it in our resource group, Databricks Masterclass, so we'll be aligning the data lake to the resource group itself. Okay, so in order to create a data lake, we need to go up with that and search for storage. You see, we get this option of storage accounts. Click on storage accounts. Okay, now we need to create a storage account. So when you click on create over here, it will give us a new window where you can fill in a lot of information for creating a storage account. We'll be looking at everything in a moment. So the resource group, by default it has selected. It also gives an option, if you have not created resource group as a part of previous step, you can create it at this step as well, but we are all prepared thanks to me, and we'll be aligning it to this resource group. If you want to align to different resource group, you can select it from the list, drop down list. Okay, now storage account name. Now this storage account name needs to be absolutely unique, which no one has used on the Azure storage. Okay, otherwise it will not be able to create one for you. So let's create one. Databricks underscore, can only lowercase upper, let okay, must be, oh sorry, my mistake. Databricks, then let's see if it creates. Okay, no, it only takes lowercase. Let's go master class, and let's go with one, or module. Okay, let's go. There is masterclass 101. Okay, hopefully that's unique. It will tell us in a moment if it is unique. Okay, looks like. Now you can select a region, where which region do you want it to host it. Okay, so we have selected the region, and then it gives an option to click create a primary service. So there are three options for primary services. We are not going to select anything. It's not a mandatory field, so we're going to skip this. In the performance field, we are going to go with standard, although we have credits worth of $200, but we have to be mindful and use those credits in the right things. We can go with the standard performance at the moment, because we will not be running queries or pipelines on huge data sets. Just sample data sets and standard plan would work for us. Apart from this, in the redundancy, Azure provides us 4 different level of redundancy. If you click on this, it gives you information on that. So there is a locally redundant storage. So it is the lowest cost option, and the redundancy, I mean the data is replicating locally to that particular location. Then there is geo redundant storage, which is intermediate option, slightly costlier than LRS, and it replicates data in a geolocation. Then there is zone redundant storage, in which the replication happens within a zone, maybe, and yes, costlier than GRS. And the most costly one, which is geo zone redundant storage. So it completely depends on the criticality of your data. LRS being the cheapest one, we are going to go with LRS. I would recommend you guys to go a deeper in the understanding of these three, four redundancy options, and it will be a plus point for you if you understand this from the interview perspective. Okay, now if we click on review plus create over here, it will just create a blob storage account for us. But as I mentioned earlier, we do not want a blob storage, we want a data lake. So we have to do some more modifications to this account. We'll click on next, and on this section we will get that option for creating a data lake. So if you see this option which says hierarchical namespace, so it gives us an option. If we select this, it will give an option to create a data lake. So what exactly is hierarchical namespace? So in blob storage, all the data files or all the data is stored in an unstructured way, right? But in when we click on hierarchical namespace, it gives namespace in an hierarchy. For example, if you create a folder demo, and inside it you create a new folder demo 1, then demo 2, demo 3 in hierarchy, so it will be created in a structured form, and you will be able to see data in a hierarchical namespace fashion. So if I would like to show you how exactly what I mean, so let's, okay, go a little down. Let's say that there is, okay, then there is this. Okay, now let's say it's namespace 1. So this is one folder which we created. Now inside this we want to create another folder, okay, in hierarchy. So let's say namespace 2, and inside this we want to create another folder. Let's say, hmm, okay, let's go a little up. Okay, let's create namespace 3, and inside this you want to keep your data. Now inside this you want to create a file, let's say file.txt. Okay, so the file, the data which we have kept is in the namespace 3 folder, right? So there is a hierarchy of the folders which got created when we select this option. Okay, and this is what exactly is data lake in a more structured format. So when you click on this, the storage account will convert to a data lake. Okay, now it gives you more options. You can, always discover through these options for your better clarity and understanding from an interview perspective. We do not need it at this moment for this project, so we are just going to leave it as it is. Just to give you some information on it, I'll give you like a high level understanding on this. So these are access protocols, like how exactly do you want to access your storage account or data lake. So if you want to enable SFTP, you can enable SFTP. If you want to enable NFS, which is network file system, you can enable that as well. Now it gives you an option for access tier, like what exactly access tier do we require. Now this again is a different topic from Azure perspective. I would really expect you guys to go deep dive if you are not aware about it. We are going to, because we are going to access data very frequently, we are going to go with the hot tier. And all right, this is all we need. And now we'll click on review plus create. Okay, and this will create our data lake for us. Okay, it will take a little bit longer. Okay, let's wait for a while. Okay, so it has done reviewing, so you can just review it back if all the things which you want are in there. I have already done it. Let's create it. Okay, it says initializing deployment. It might take a couple of minutes to deploy our storage account resource, and let's give it a moment. Deployment in progress. Okay, you can see the subscription and the resource group it is under. It gives you a lot of other details as well. Okay, so now it says your deployment is completed and you can go to resource by clicking on this tab. I'm going to click on this tab and it will take us to our storage account, whose name is Databricks Masterclass 101. Now that's a lot of information in there, right? Please don't feel overwhelmed with this. We are only concerned about the data storage tier, this section which talks about what all things it has to offer us. Okay, so we are going to work with containers only because this is what data lake is. We will work with this, but just to give you an understanding of what exactly these things are, file shares is just an option if you want to share file between different resources. When I say resources, I mean team members and different teams. So you can create a file shares, mount it to the account, and they can always access data, work simultaneously. The queues is generally for streaming. So when there is message streams, you can this service is used for that. Apart from the tables, it's generally for new NoSQL kind of databases. Like if you want to store your data in key value pair kind of configuration. So tables is the option for you, and you can create a database and tables in this section. However, we are only concerned about data lake in this modules, so we'll be working with containers only, just to give you an understanding of what all things they have in there. So there is overview, activity log, so what all activity happens, it will be get logged into this. Tags, so if you want to create specific key value pairs for your resources, you can always tag them over here. Diagnose and solve problems. So if there is an issue with your storage account, you can diagnose it. Then access control, so for controlling the access, so it's always a good option in the production environment to to create granular level of access control list. So you can always control the access to your storage account using IAM service of Microsoft Azure. Then data migration service related to data migration, if you want to migrate data across cloud or from cloud to on-prem. And I mean, you get the point, right? So events, storage browser, there are a lot of things. There are a lot of things, and you can always. I would really recommend, if you're new to Azure and you do not know about all these things, please go through all these sections, give it a moment, and try to understand what all things are offering to you in your storage account. Okay, so now it's time to create some containers on which we'll be working. So we are going to create two containers. One is for source and one is for destination. So I'm okay. Sorry, my bad. So there is one container called source. Let's create this one and create one more container called destination. Okay, create one. So we created two containers. So one container will act as a source from where we will ingest the data, which integrates with Databricks eventually. And there's a destination container as well, where we would want the output of that particular transformation or anything we do that with that data, right? So it acts as a souvenir at the end of the day. So it goes into the destination folder, or sorry, container. Now if you go to the source container over here, there's nothing in here, right? Because we just created it. So here we have to upload some data, right? We need to have some data on which we can work, right? As I mentioned earlier, that is the main core of this whole project. Okay, the whole masterclass. So I'm going to upload a sample set of data to this source container. Now you can get any data, any sample set you can work with. If you could just Google it, you will get enormous amount of sample data with which you can work. So I have also downloaded this from Google itself. So if I click on upload, if I click on browse for files, go to downloads and click on sales. Okay, so this is a CSV file which I'm going to upload, and click on open. So this is as easy as that. So this file, this set of data has been selected, and now if I click on upload, it will just upload this file to my source uh, container, right? And it gives you a bunch of other information as well, like what kind of file it is. It's a blob, so it's like a block storage. And then the access tier is hot, okay, and all this stuff. Now if you want to review your data, obviously it gives you an option for reviewing it as well. Just select it, and if we click on this and if we click on view, so it will show me an option of overviewing this data. So if you see it here, it has a lot of information here. And if we no, we don't want to do that. If we click on view edit, okay, All right, so you can see it over here. It is our data in raw format. So since it's a CSV file, comma separated file, so that is why it is showing it in this thing. However, if you click on preview over here, it will give you in a more structured format what exactly this file contains and what is the data on which we are going to work. Okay. Uh, all right, perfect. So this is the file and it has been successfully uploaded into our source container, and now it's time to create our Azure Databricks workspace. Okay, so that is also a service slash resource in Azure. So it has their own Databricks console, which kind of integrates with the whole Databricks slash Apache Spark cluster. Okay, so we are going to create that one and we'll be working on that. So it's time to create that one. Okay. Okay, so in order to create our Databricks console for in our this tenant, so let's go to home. Because we want to create it in the same resource group which we have created for this masterclass, I'm going to click on that. So if you remember last time when you created a service, we searched it from there. Like for example, if you want to do it Databricks, you will get Azure Databricks from here as well. But let me show you one more cool way of creating a resource. So if I go here and you see the option of create here, just click on this create. What it does, it takes you to the Azure marketplace. So similarly, as I mentioned in the last module, Databricks has a marketplace. Similarly, Azure has its own marketplace, which offers variety and numerous amount of resources which you can integrate with and work with. So we're gonna search for Databricks here. Let's see Databricks. Now just make sure when you select or create any resource from marketplace, make sure that the provider of that particular resource is the authentic one, right? For example, for this one we want it from Microsoft because we are working on Azure Databricks, right? So we're gonna make sure that it is provided by Microsoft. It is. Now we can click on create Azure Databricks, and now, the beauty of this way in which I'm creating this resource is that it automatically comes under this resource group. So it kind of simplifies a lot of things for you. Okay, so subscription resource group is all sorted. Workspace name. So, okay, we're going to create a workspace name. Let's call it Databricks Masterclass Workspace. Okay, region is east to west. So I'm just trying to keep all the resources I create as a part of this masterclass in the same region, but you can choose whichever reason is more suitable to you. Now the pricing tier, so we have three pricing tier, which is trial, premium, 14 days free debuts, and there's premium, role-based access controls, and the standard one. So I would not recommend to use the standard one. Use the premium one or the trial one for this project or this masterclass. Both these options will give you the same amount of visibility and features which are available and which we'll be requiring. Now because you have credits worth of 200 US dollars, you can use the premium one as well. It will just consume that and you will not be charged a single dime for it. However, if you want to play safe, you can click on trial premium, 14 days free debuts as well. So I'm going to select this one because I need those credits for different other resources which I'm going to create for other projects. So but still these two are pretty much same, so you can choose any one of them. And next option is managed resource group name. So we have already mentioned the resource group in which we want to create the service, right? But still it is asking for another resource group. Now this resource group is not for Azure, it's for Databricks. Okay, because Databricks manages clusters and all the underlying components for you, so it also requires a resource group name in which it can bundle all the similar likewise functioning resources, right? So we are going to create one resource group for the Databricks as well. Let's name it as Databricks Masterclass RG. Now we are not too much concerned about it because we are not going to deal with it. It is for Databricks. So now there are a lot of other options as well which you can review before creating it, but I don't want to review it. I am absolutely fine with all the things which come as a default. So I'm going to click on review plus create. Okay, I'm gonna just verify everything I selected is populated here, and now I'm gonna click on create. Okay, now it is initializing my deployment, submitting deployment. Okay, I'm going to go back to the resource group in which this Databricks account or Databricks service will be created. So it says deployment is in progress. So now it might take a couple of moments to create this service for us. So I'm going to pause the video for that amount so that the time doesn't get wasted. Okay, it says created, but still I do not have the options to access it. So let's give it a moment. Okay. Okay, so finally the deployment is complete and the Databricks workspace has been created successfully. So we can go to resource similarly from this tab. Let's click on go to resource, and it will take us to that particular workspace resource. Okay, so it gives you a lot of options over here. You can go through this all these options, but I'm so excited. Let's just launch the workspace. Okay, now when we launch this workspace, you will see some magic happening. Okay, what you will see is it is very similar or almost 99% similar to the Databricks UI or workspace we just checked in the last module. Look at this, isn't it? It is absolutely same with what we discussed in the last module. Okay, that's why I did it before this session, because you must have some understanding of when we land to this page, what exactly these features do. And we have already discussed all these things which are relevant to us in detail. Okay, so this is just integrated with Microsoft Azure, but it is same Databricks. You can see Microsoft Azure Databricks console logos at the top, and this is the same console. Okay, so workspace, recents, catalog, Unity catalog, workflows, compute, marketplace, and all these options very similar to the Databricks console which we just saw in our last module. Only one thing, if you remember in the last module I told you that Databricks in the free account doesn't allow you to create your own cluster, your own custom cluster. But Microsoft Azure Databricks lets it do that because we have $200 worth of free credits, right? So if it is any cost associated with it, it will just get deducted from those credits, and we'll be learning this whole concept absolutely for free. Okay, so let's just go directly to compute, which is a little different from the Databricks home console, which we discussed in the last module. So if you see, it is a little bit different, right? Okay, so just before that, let me show you the other pages, other features as well. It's pretty much similar, which was in the Databricks UI. You can go recent, then Unity catalog for data governance as well, one stop solution for data governance in Databricks, workflows. So everything is similar, just the compute part is different. That's why I'm going to discuss this, and we will try to create our own cluster, which we were not able to do in the Databricks UI in the past module. Okay, so let's click on create compute. So we this is just I would say this is just high level information which we have to fill in for the configuration of the cluster we want, and Databricks does all the hard part for us. So Databricks will spin up the compute VMs clusters in the background depending on the configuration and the information we provide on this page. Okay, so when you click on policy, so there are certain policies which you can you know associate with your cluster, but I'm going with unrestricted at the moment. But you can obviously like personal compute. So if you want your cluster to be personal to your workspace and your project, you can select personal compute, then power user compute, which is kind of a I would say a stronger computational power. Then there is a shared compute which you can share, then legacy shared compute. Okay, so then again, topics for some other day. Today we are going to go with unrestricted restricted option. Okay, now there is an option for multi-node and single node. So as I already mentioned that you can go with multi-node for huge databases. If you are trying to work with huge terabytes, petabytes of data, always go for multi-node. But because as a part of this project we will not go with that much big size of data, so single node is like good enough for us, and obviously that would save us cost as well. Okay, now access mode, it would be dedicated, obviously single user, so only I'm working on it. But then again, you can select all other options which are available and suitable for you. Okay, single user access, showing us the name, default name. Now, if we're going to talk about performance, you can select any of these options. I'm going to select 14.3. because I have worked with this in past. It's just a long time support and very stable one. So this is the Databricks runtime version. So you can always go with the latest version as well. I would not recommend for you, like if you're a beginner, to go with a beta version. But yes, any other long-term support version up to 15.4, I would recommend it to you, and you can use any of these runtimes for you. Okay. For machine learning, there are some different runtimes available as well. So if you're working with machine learning algorithms operations, so you can go with these options as well. So for now, we are going with runtime 14.3 LTS. For the sake of consistency, you can also use this one. Now, photon acceleration. If you remember, we discussed this in first couple of modules. What exactly photon acceleration is. I'm not going to do it again to save time, but we do not require it for this one. Now, node time. What exact which node do we want? So this 16 GB memory 4 cores sounds okay to me, but it completely depends. Like if you're working in real time for an organization production environment, you may have to go with a higher configuration node as well, like up to 56 GB memory, 16 cores, or even bigger than that, like 150 GB, 140 GB memory, 20 cores. Since we are not going to handle large sets or humongous amount of data, this configuration looks pretty much good enough for me, so I'm gonna go with this only. Now this option, again, we have discussed this in last module as well, like after how many or how much amount of inactivity would you want this machine or the cluster to go off or terminate, so that you could save cost. Okay, so this is a very important field. So if you are mindful of your workloads of your project, all the jobs which are running, that would be that would save us a very good cost for you. It's a very good option for saving costs. For the sake of this project, let's keep it 30. Okay, let's keep it 30. Okay, so after 30 minutes of inaction, so I'm not, if my cluster is not doing any task for 30 minutes, it will auto terminate. Okay, and the resources will be saved on the Apache Spark end, and the cost will be saved on my workspace end. Okay, now for tags, as I mentioned earlier, for better management, it's a good thing to have tags, but it's not a mandatory thing. But still, I'm gonna do it. Let's say master class. So which master class is for? It's for Databricks. Okay, I'm gonna add this tag. This tag has been added. You can always add multiple tags, okay, to find more granularity for management. Now everything looks fine, okay. And what I can do is I can create compute. Now I'll click on create compute, and it will take a little bit of time to create compute. It will show your name over there, the name of the cluster. You can always have a customized name depending on the project, your workspace, anything. It will accept anything. Okay, and it has all the configuration which we did for and which we want for our cluster. Now if you see here, it is still spinning, and if you go, it says finding instances for new nodes, acquiring more instances if necessary. So Databricks is doing all the magic in the background. You don't have to do anything, and you do not have to go anywhere. So it's a serverless architecture, and it will configure a cluster for us, using which we can run our notebooks, our queries, and work a lot of operations with our data. So it might take some time. Let's pause this video, and I'll be back with you when it gets created. All right, brilliant. So our cluster is ready. You can see active green icon here. It means the cluster is running. So let's do something with this cluster, right? So let's create a notebook first. Okay. So I already told you all everything about how to use the notebook, how to use the console, what all things it has to offer. So I'm gonna skip all this in this section. So let's do a name of the notebook. Let's say we say sample notebook db1. Okay, all right. So as I mentioned earlier, Databricks supports 4 programming languages: Python, Scala, R, and SQL. Right now it's working on Python, so I can write anything to say, I'm sorry. Okay, and if I go with this is a Databricks masterclass. Okay. Now, as I mentioned earlier, either you can run from here, or you can, oh, sorry, run from, uh, Okay, so you can run from here, you can run from here, or there's a shortcut from keyboard as well. If you press shift plus enter, it will start running. Okay, you see that it says waiting and start running, and you can see here it is using our cluster. So if you click here, it will give you options for selecting cluster depending on your query. So if you're running complex queries, you might require a bigger cluster, and for simple queries you can use, so I only have one, so it is showing it in here. So you see this, it has already corrected, I'm sorry, already printed. Hi, this is Databricks Masterclass. The output of this Python command, for example, I showed you earlier as well in the Databricks console. If we make any mistake, this is also powered by an AI assistant, and it will let you know. If you press shift plus enter, it won't be able to run. It says incomplete input, and if you see, it shows the right command that there is a syntax error and I do not close the parentheses. So I'll click on accept and run, and it will just accept the correction in the command, and it will run it for you. Okay, now there are some magic commands. I mean, there are a lot of magic commands as I showed you earlier as well. For example, if I just remove this and I just type in percentile ls magic, it will show you all the possible magic commands which Databricks has to offer, and they are numerous. However, we will just discuss some of them so that you have some understanding why we call them magic commands. So if we go to this, so there are some magic commands which I want to discuss. So for example, I showed you as by default it is showing the language is Python, although you can always click on any one of these from here, or you can click on from here as well, change default cell language, and select the appropriate language for you. However, if you do not want to change it from there and you want a more convenient way, so there is a magic command. So if you want to go into SQL, and if you just enter this and you see, voila, the Python automatically changed to SQL. So the console itself, the Databricks itself, is so smart enough. With this magic command, it will accept it. It will understand that now the next commands which are going to run would be in this specific language, and you can eventually use that language, and it will just change its interpreter and will use that language to run those commands. Okay, so if I want to go with Scala, just type Scala and you'll get the option of Scala similarly. Okay, so let's do something with SQL. So if we go with SQL, enter. Okay, no, let's do something else. So first of all, let's go with Python. Okay, let's say print. Okay, and let's say hi. This is my first Databricks session, or slash, let's say masterclass. Okay, and if we run it, and it says, now if we go to percentile SQL and we say select hi, this is my first Databricks masterclass, and if we just enter it, it is running it. Okay, you see that? So it has selected this and created one table for you. Okay, this is my first Databricks masterclass. So just by entering this command at the top of your cell, it the Databricks console automatically accepts it and identifies what exactly language it needs to use to run those commands. Okay, now for example, if you want to create some headings. So I'm pretty sure everyone, or most of you at least, would have worked with markdowns, right? So markdown is are the commands which is used to improve the readability of the whole document. Okay, I mean, it just improves the user experience. The whole UI becomes more attractive and more understandable for you. For example, if you want to access this notebook in like after a couple of months, so it will just improve your experience, or for an unknown user it will improve an experience. So as I mentioned, percentile md, it has detected it's a markdown language. Now I can do a heading one, and let's say Databricks masterclass, shift enter, it will run it, and you see there is a heading for you. Okay, for example, we want a subheading as well, so let's go with percentile So right now, if you see it's Python over here, but when I do MD, it will change to MD, Markdown, and let's do it in bold and heading 2, and let's say module 1. Okay, module 1. Let's do this and shift enter, and you see this, it's in bold and it's heading 2. So it just improves the whole content of the the notebook, and you can categorize, and you can create subsections using Markdown for your document, and it will just improve the readability and improve the user experience for the whole document. Okay, so this is how it is. So you can do a lot of things with this thing. Okay, now moving forward. Okay, since we're going to work with data, let's do a couple of activities or couple of commands for data itself. So eventually, when we'll be working with data lake, we'll be creating data frames on top of data lake. Okay, so for those who have no information or no idea about what exactly is a data frame, so data frame is like a two-dimensional data structure. It's similar to a spreadsheet or a table in a database, and it's used for storing and manipulating data, often with rows representing observations and columns representing variables, so something like that. It's called a data frame. And eventually we'll be working with data frames on top of data lake, which contains all the data. But in this, you can also create your customized data frames. Okay, I mean data frames on your customized data. Okay, so for example, let me just first of all delete all these things. We don't need all these things. Delete. Okay, I mean you can use it, but I just don't want to create more complexities. Okay, all right, let's start with something perfect. Okay, so what I was saying. Okay, so I was saying that you can create data frames on your customized set of data as well. Okay, so first of all, let's define a data set for us. So it could be a string or a tuple, anything, whatever is suitable for you. And then again, you can use any language you feel comfortable with. I'm gonna use Python itself because it's most user friendly. And now I'm gonna define a data frame. Let's say 1 comma AA comma. Okay, so this is string, so I want to do it like this. Sorry, AA, and let's say 40. Okay, now let's do another data set to it. Okay, my mistake. So if I do like, so you see that the Databricks console, I mean, it's so smart. It has detected a pattern for me, and I mean, I can work with that pattern because it's just customized data, right? So this is how exactly my data set looks like. So one is the ID for that cell. AA is the I'm sorry, the name of the candidate. It could be anything. Just I took a very random thing. So AA is a name of the candidate, and let's say 40 is the marks or maybe the age of that particular candidate. Let's go with marks. Okay, so it's ID, then this is marks, I'm sorry, this is name, and this is marks. Okay, so this is just the data, right? This is a very random data set which I have created. Let's create a schema for it as well, right? Because Database doesn't understand, right, what exactly this means, right? How exactly to interpret this data. So okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna define schema for it, like this. First is ID. Okay, brilliant. So if you click tab, it has detected a, okay, so that's how AI assistant assist you. So if even if you are a beginner, it's not an issue. I mean, it helps you a lot. I mean, it does half of your work for you. Just it's not that smart. So as I mentioned, I don't want it as age. Let's do it marks. Okay, so you can see the schema has been defined as, so we need ID, which is an integer, then there's a name, which is A, B, B, and CC, it's a string, and there is marks, which is all integer, so it's 40, 15, 60 is marks. Okay, so I have defined the schema for my data set as well. Okay, now I want to create a data frame. Okay, so the name of the data frame should be, or let it be like df. And okay, brilliant, now it says spark.create data frame. So yeah, this is the command for creating a data frame. If I click on tab, it just creates it just suggests me the right command. So I mean, this is so good, right? You don't have to remember all the commands, and even if you know, you don't have to type all in. Okay, just click on tab and it will complete the command for you. Okay, now just I don't want, okay, so if it's not absolutely correct, so let's do this. Okay, schema equal to my schema. Brilliant, perfect. So this is what I wanted exactly. Okay, now this is fine. So if I click on Shift Enter, it will. Brilliant. Okay, so it has created my schema. Okay, it has created a data frame which has this data, and this is the schema of the data. So it should look like a table. So if you imagine in your mind, it should look like a table which has an ID in the first column, and then name in the second column, and marks in third column with these values 1, 2, 3, A, B, B, C, C, and 40, 50, 60 in the rows respectively. Okay, so now the data frame is created on this customized unstructured data. I'm sorry, it's a structured one, but a customized, or I would say uh, customized and very random data. Okay, let's go with the random name. Okay, now I want to see it as well, right? Because we were just imagining it till now, right? But we can do it on the screen as well. Let's see it on the screen how exactly it looks like. Okay, so let's print it again. Shift Enter. It's running, and let's see what it shows us. Brilliant, exactly. I hope you were imagining the same thing, because that's the thing we created. Okay, if you see ID, then name, then marks. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So this is the value we gave over there, right? This is exactly we gave over here. So if let's customize it a little bit. Let's not do it AA. Let's do it Tom, and let's do Max, and let's do Chris, because whose names of their children like A, B, B, and C. So let's do John. Okay, brilliant. Okay, now I'm gonna run this again. Shift Enter. It has been run, and I'm gonna run this one again as well, because I mean the data frame has been updated, but the display, the last command is still showing the older data frame. So I'm gonna just update it like this, and brilliant. Okay, so now it is showing Tom, Max, John. Okay, similarly you can create more data frames as well. I'm sorry, you can add more data to your data frame and update it. Let's say I'm gonna with 4 Alice 70. Okay, brilliant. It's a very good. I mean, it just mesmerizes me what all great things this AI assistant can do. Okay, this is not absolutely right. That's, I mean, it cannot do everything for you, right? You still have to debug some of the things which it is suggesting. Okay, so we have added two more set of data to this particular data set. Schema stays same. For example, okay, now let's change the schema as well. So let's say apart from 40, let's give a number as well, like 18. Okay, let's give another number like 19. Okay, so I want to change the schema, and I want to include the age of the users as well, right? So I'm gonna do it 21, and for this let's do it 32. Brilliant. Okay, and let's create another. Let's say age int. Brilliant. Okay, it has already auto completed it. I'm gonna run it again over here. So data has been modified. Now I'm gonna run update the data set as well. Okay, now brilliant. So it has updated the new data which we have filled in, and it also has updated the schema, the age section which we created. Okay, so this is the magic of Databricks, and you can work with and you can play with a lot of other things as well while creating data frames with your custom random data as well. Okay, so now let's go back a little bit, and before working more on these node books and Databricks console, let's do a couple of theoretical topics as well, which are very important for the Databricks concept as a whole, and plus from interview perspective as well. So let's talk a little bit about Databricks file system. Okay, what exactly is Databricks file system? So like any other software or any other file system, Databricks also has its own file system. Now, why do it need a file system? Then again, just to decrease the complexity and make the user experience more enhancing or better, I would say. Databricks also has a file system. Okay, now what it means to have a file system. So whenever there is so always the data would always be in a data lake, right? Like in containers, which we have already created. If you remember a couple of minutes back, or 10-15 minutes back, we create a container within the data lake. So let's say we have a data lake, and there is a container of data inside that, and it contains some amount of data. Okay, now how would you access that data? What is the address of that data? Now if you would be proficient with some of the concepts of Azure storage. So whenever you want to access any data stored in Azure storage, there is a URL associated with it. right? So in order to access data which is contained in this container, there is a URL for that, right? So there would be a URL, something like https colon double slash and xyz slash something like that, okay, which contains the region and object name and all that stuff as a part of the URL, and you have to use that URL whenever you want to access that data. Okay, now for some users, accessing that URL might be a tidy task. I mean, who could remember the URL, right? Even you might not be, if I give you 10 URLs for different objects, you might not even be able to associate them because they are so long and unique with a lot of alphanumeric keywords in between. It's really hard to work with them, right? So that's where Databricks file system come into play. Databricks file system creates a layer of abstraction between the data lake and your Databricks console, uh, and gives a more user-friendly way of accessing those container using the file semantics. When I say file semantics, I mean whenever you access any window on your computer or any other file system, there is a file semantic, like how exactly a file is, uh, how exactly can you share the location of that file. For example, if there's a file placed in a folder called unstructured, which has a parent folder called raw and then has a parent folder called files, and the name of file is brochure.txt, its file semantics or its file address would be like this: slash files raw unstructured brochure.txt. Similarly, for any file which is in a data lake, that URL, the URL associated with it, the Databricks file system gives you an abstraction layer so that you don't have to worry about the URL, and it will give you an address of that file which is more relatable and easier to understand with all the file semantics with which most of the users have been working in past. So it would show you something like that. So this is the whole concept of Databricks file system. I mean, I personally am fine with working with URLs as well, and I'm pretty sure a lot of users would be. However, for the ease of access to all the users, it completely becomes your choice if you want to go with Databricks file system as well. And when you enable it, and you will be able to use these file semantic or file appropriate address, a more appropriate address for your files, and you will be access those using this, and you no longer have to work with URLs. So this is what Databricks file system is. Okay, so the next thing we want to talk about is how Databricks access data from a data lake. Because the data is already stored in data lake in Microsoft Azure storage account, and we are working on Databricks, and there should be some kind of integration and connectivity between them, right? Because the data which is stored in data lake, it is password protected, and I mean it is restricted to certain users, right? It could be admin, and if you add more users to it, completely depending on your organization. But then again, the data which is stored in data lake is restricted, that is for sure, right? Now how do Databricks is able to connect with that storage account? I mean, that's a question, right? I mean, if I were to take an example, okay, hold on, let's see it over here. So let's say our data is stored here in Azure storage account, and we are planning to work on Databricks. This is Databricks, and we are planning to work on Databricks using that data, right? Using this data. So there should be certain level of trust created between them, right? Like how Databricks will be able to access this. Even if you have to access this account, is the data in the storage account, you have to enter credentials, right? So similarly, Databricks agent also need the credentials so that it can access whatever is stored in Azure storage account. Now, how does it work? So here the concept of Azure service principles come into play. Okay, so what exactly is Azure service principle? Let me write it down for you. So this integration or this authentication or authorization happens using Azure service principles. Brilliant. Okay. Now, what exactly is Azure Service Principle? Now, Azure Service Principal is an identity managed within Microsoft Entra ID. Now, what is Microsoft Entra ID? It is also a feature provided by Azure. Okay, so nothing to worry about that. So it is managed within Microsoft Entra ID that represents an application, service, or automated tool, allowing it to access Azure resources with assigned roles and permissions rather than relying on just user credentials. Okay, so it is just like an account which gets associated with a specific service or an application, and you can allow access depending on its roles, and you can restrict access depending on the roles, what exactly it can do and what exactly it cannot do. So that's what Azure Service Principles allow us to do. Okay, now how to create this? Okay, don't worry, we'll go step by step.